rejoined Mistress Nutter.
I say yea,
retorted the familiar. Thou art my slave. I command thee to bring Alizon hither at once. The familiar shook his head. "Thou refusest?" cried Mistress Nutter, menacingly. "Knowst thou not I have the means of chastising thee?"
you had, madam,
replied the other.
but the moment a thought of penitence crossed your breast, the power you were invested with departed. My lord, however, is willing to give you an hour of grace, when, if you voluntarily renew your oaths to him, he will accept them, and place me at your disposal once more. But if you still continue obstinate,
"He will abandon me," interrupted Mistress Nutter. "I knew it. Fool that I was to trust one who from the beginning has been a deceiver."
you have a short memory and but a little gratitude, madam, and seem entirely to forget the important favour conferred upon you last night. At your solicitation, the boundaries of your property were changed, and large slips of land filched from another to be given to you. But if you fail in your duty, you cannot expect this to continue. The boundary marks will be set up in their old places, and the land restored to its rightful owner.
"I expected as much," observed Mistress Nutter, disdainfully.
Thus all our pains will be thrown away,
pursued the familiar.
and though you may make light of the labour, it is no easy task to change the face of a whole country, to turn streams from their course, move bogs, transplant trees, and shift houses, all of which has been done, and will now have to be undone because of your inconstancy. I myself have been obliged to act as many parts as a poor player to please you, and now you dismiss me at a moment's notice, as if I had played them indifferently, whereas the most fastidious audience would have been ravished by my performance. This morning I was the reeve of the forest, and as such obliged to assume the shape of a rascally attorney. I felt it a degradation, I assure you. Nor was I better pleased when you compelled me to put on the likeness of old Roger Nowell, for whatever you may think, I am not so entirely destitute of personal vanity as to prefer either of their figures to my own. However, I showed no disinclination to oblige you. You are strangely unreasonable to-day. Is it my lord's fault if your desire of vengeance expires in its fruition? If, when you have accomplished an object, you no longer care for it? You ask for revenge, for power. You have them, and cast them aside like childish baubles.
"My lord is an arch deceiver," rejoined Mistress Nutter, "and cannot perform his promises. They are empty delusions, profitless, insubstantial as shadows. His power prevails not against anything holy, as I myself have just now experienced. His money turns to withered leaves, his treasures are dust and ashes. Strong only is he in the power of mischief, and even his mischief, like curses, recoils on those who use it. His vengeance is no true vengeance, for it troubles the conscience, and engenders remorse, whereas the servant of heaven heaps coals of fire on the head of his adversary by kindness, and satisfies his own heart."
You should have thought of all this before you vowed yourself to him,
said the familiar.
It is too late to reflect now.
"Perchance not," rejoined Mistress Nutter.
Beware!
thundered the demon, with a terrible gesture.
Any overt act of disobedience, and your limbs shall be scattered over this chamber.
"If I do not dare thee to do it, it is not because I fear thee," replied Mistress Nutter, in no way dismayed by the threat. "Thou canst not control my tongue. Thou speakest of the services rendered by thy lord, and I repeat they are like his promises naught. Show me the witch he has enriched. Of what profit is her worship of this false deity? Of what avail the sacrifices she makes at his foul altars? It is ever the same spilling of blood, ever the same working of mischief. The wheels of crime roll on like the car of the Indian idol, crushing all before them. Doth thy master ever help his servants in their need? Doth he not ever abandon them when they are no longer useful, and can win him no more proselytes? Miserable servants! Miserable master! Look at the murtherous Demdike and the malignant Chattox, and examine the means whereby they have prolonged their baleful career. Enormities of all kinds committed, and all their families devoted to the Fiend, all wizards or witches. Look at them, I say. What profit to them in their long service? Are they rich? Are they in possession of unfading youth and beauty? Are they splendidly lodged? Have they all they desire? No. The one dwells in a solitary turret, and the other in a wretched hovel, and both are miserable creatures, living only on the dole wrung by threats from terrified peasants, and capable of no gratification but such as results from practices of malice."
Is that nothing?
asked the familiar.
To them it is everything. They care neither for splendid mansions, nor for wealth, nor youth, nor beauty. If they did, they could have them all. They care only for the dread and mysterious power they possess, to be able to fascinate with a glance, to transfix by a gesture, to inflict strange ailments by a word, and to kill by a curse. This is the privilege they seek, and this privilege they enjoy.
"And what is the end of it all?" demanded Mistress Nutter, sternly. "Ere long they will be unable to furnish victims to their insatiate master, who will then abandon them. Their bodies will go to the hangman, and their souls to endless bale." The familiar laughed, as if a good joke had been repeated to him, and rubbed his hands gleefully.
Very true,
he said.
very true. You have stated the case exactly, madam. Such will certainly be the course of events. But what of that? The old hags will have enjoyed a long term, much longer than might have been anticipated. Mother Demdike, however, as I have intimated, will extend hers, and it is fortunate for her she is enabled to do so, as it would otherwise expire an hour after midnight, and could not be renewed.
"Thou liest!" cried Mistress Nutter. "Liest like thy lord, who is the father of lies. My innocent child can never be offered up at his impious shrine. I have no fear for her. Neither he, nor Mother Demdike, nor any of the accursed sisterhood can harm her. Her goodness will cover her like armour, which no evil can penetrate. Let him wreak his vengeance, if he will, on me. Let him treat me as a slave who has cast off his yoke. Let him abridge the scanty time allotted to me, and bear me hence to his burning kingdom. But injure my child he cannot, shall not."
Go to Malkin Tower at midnight, and then thou wilt see,
replied the familiar, with a mocking laugh. "I will go there, but it shall be to deliver her," rejoined Mistress Nutter. "And now get thee gone. I need thee no more."
Be not deceived, proud woman,
said the familiar.
Once dismissed, I may not be recalled, whilst thou wilt be wholly unable to defend thyself against thine enemies.
"I care not," she rejoined. "Begone." The familiar stepped back, and stamping upon the hearthstone, it sank like a trap-door, and he disappeared beneath it, a flash of lightning playing round his dusky figure. Notwithstanding her vaunted resolution, and the boldness with which she had comported herself before the familiar, Mistress Nutter now completely gave way, and for a while abandoned herself to despair. Aroused at length by the absolute necessity of action, she again walked to the window and looked forth. The storm still raged furiously without, so furiously, indeed, that it would be madness to brave it, now that she was deprived of her power, and reduced to the ordinary level of humanity. Its very violence, however, assured her it must soon cease, and she would then set out for Malkin Tower. But what chance had she now